A woman can love you and still not respect you. Let that sink in. She can sleep with you, commit to you, build a life with you, and still, deep down, not see you as the man to follow. That's the part no one warns men about. Most men think respect comes automatically with time, effort, and loyalty. It doesn't. Respect is a ranking, and women reveal it through behavior, not words. There are 6 unmistakable things women only do for men they truly respect. They don't negotiate them, they don't fake them, and they don't give them out of kindness. If you've ever felt like her energy shifted, like your voice carries less weight than it used to, this isn't about fixing her mood. It's about understanding the 6 signals that tell you exactly where you stand before it's too late. Attraction is easy. It's emotional. It's reactive. Respect is rare, and it's earned on a completely different level. A woman can sleep with you. She can love you. She can stay in a relationship with you for years, and still not respect you. That's the part most men don't want to hear, because they confuse presence with position. Attraction is how she feels about you. Respect is how she ranks you. When attraction is high but respect is low, you don't become her partner. You become her emotional safety net. The man she leans on, vents to, confides in, but doesn't follow. You're there to support her feelings, not shape the direction. And that's where men get stuck. They think consistency, patience, and understanding will eventually earn authority. It doesn't. It earns comfort. Without respect, you're not leading the relationship. You're reacting inside it. You adjust. You explain. You accommodate. And slowly, without a single argument, your position drops. Here's the truth most men learn too late. A woman doesn't follow the man she likes. She follows the man she respects. And everything you're about to hear next flows from that one rule. Number 1, she listens and she actually adjusts. Most women are very good at talking. They can express emotions, explain feelings, unpack experiences for hours. But listening, real listening, that's selective. Here's the difference most men miss. A woman can hear you without taking you seriously. She can nod, agree, even apologize, and change nothing. That's not misunderstanding. That's your words landing with no weight. When a woman truly respects you, something subtle but powerful shifts. She doesn't interrupt. She doesn't rush to defend herself. She doesn't twist your point into a debate. She goes quiet, not cold, focused. Because in her mind, what you're saying isn't noise. It's guidance. You bring something up once, and it sticks. You express a boundary, and she adjusts without needing reminders. You correct a behavior, and you don't get resistance, excuses, or emotional gymnastics. Why? Because respect changes how her brain categorizes your voice. It moves you from the emotional input box into the directional authority box. Your words stop being opinions and start becoming reference points. Now look at the opposite scenario. If you constantly have to repeat yourself, if every concern turns into a long explanation, if she agrees in the moment but nothing ever changes, you're not leading. You're background noise, and no woman respects background noise. This is where a lot of good men lose their footing. They think patience will eventually translate into authority, so they soften their tone. They over-explain. They try to sound more understanding, more careful, more accommodating. All that does is teach her that your words don't require action. A woman doesn't adjust for a man she sees as equal. She adjusts for a man she sees as above the emotional chaos, someone whose perspective actually matters. And notice this. When respect is real, adjustment doesn't come with attitude. There's no sighing, no eye-rolling, no passive resistance. She doesn't feel diminished by aligning with you. She feels anchored. Because in her mind, ignoring you would feel like being out of sync with something solid. Here's the line every man needs to sit with. No woman respects a man she can ignore. If your words don't move her behavior, your position is already compromised. Number 2, she watches her mouth around you. If you want to know how a woman truly sees you, don't start with her actions. Start with her tone. Because language is never accidental. It's a ranking system. Sarcasm, slick comments, little jokes at your expense, backhanded remarks disguised as just playing. That's not personality. That's not humor. And it's definitely not comfort. That's power testing. When a woman doesn't respect a man, she speaks to him the way she speaks to people she feels above. She pushes, she pokes, she sees what she can get away with, not consciously, but instinctively. Every sarcastic comment is a quiet question. How much can I lower you without consequences? Now watch what happens when respect is present. That edge disappears. Not because she's afraid of you, but because her nervous system doesn't register you as someone she can casually run over. The filter turns on automatically. She chooses her words. She doesn't mock you in front of others. She doesn't take small verbal shots to feel bigger. And here's the part men misunderstand. She's not walking on eggshells. She's calibrating. Women don't speak recklessly to men they can't afford to disrespect. The same way you don't joke carelessly with someone whose authority you recognize, she doesn't casually diminish a man she sees as solid. Pay attention to patterns. Does she talk to you like one of her girlfriends? Does she tease you the same way she teases men she doesn't take seriously? Does she correct you publicly, challenge you sarcastically, or laugh at you instead of with you? Those aren't quirks. They're signals. A woman who respects you protects your position, especially with her words. She understands, even if she can't articulate it, that how she speaks to you shapes how she feels about you. Disrespect doesn't start with betrayal. It starts with tone. And once she gets comfortable lowering you verbally, the internal hierarchy is already set. This is why men who tolerate disrespectful language slowly lose authority. Every ignored comment teaches her that your boundaries are negotiable. Every forced laugh trains her nervous system to rank you lower. Here's the truth most men avoid. How she speaks to you is how she ranks you. If her mouth has no filter around you, it's because her respect already slipped or never existed in the first place. Number 3, she changes her behavior without the attitude. There's a difference most men don't catch at first. And by the time they do, the damage is already done. It's the difference between hearing you and adjusting for you. A woman can listen to your concern and still disrespect you. You know that moment. You bring something up calmly, clearly. And she responds with, "That's just how I am." You're being too sensitive. Every woman does that. That's not honesty. That's defense. When a woman doesn't respect a man, every request feels like an attack on her identity. She has to protect herself. She has to explain. She has to justify. And suddenly, a simple boundary turns into a full-blown negotiation. But when respect is real, the response looks very different. She doesn't argue. She doesn't dramatize it. She doesn't turn it into a referendum on her personality. She adjusts, quietly, not because she's afraid of losing you, but because being out of alignment with you feels wrong. In her internal world, your standards matter. Your expectations carry weight. So correction doesn't trigger her ego. It triggers calibration. This is what men misunderstand about leadership in relationships. Leadership doesn't require force. It requires position. When a woman sees you as a leader, adjusting her behavior doesn't feel like submission. It feels like order, like sinking herself to something stable. That's why there's no attitude attached to it. No size. No passive-aggressive compliance. No emotional tax afterward. She doesn't need convincing. She doesn't need follow-ups. She doesn't need long explanations about why it matters to you. She just does better. Now contrast that with the man who constantly has to manage her reactions. who walks on eggshells just to avoid conflict, who avoids bringing things up because it always turns into an argument. That man isn't leading. He's negotiating from below. And here's the hard line most men need to hear. If every correction turns into a fight, you're not leading. A woman who respects you doesn't challenge your standards. She aligns with them, because respect isn't loud, it's efficient. Number 4. She speaks about you with pride when you're not there. Respect reveals itself most clearly in your absence, not when you're sitting across from her, not when you're doing things for her, but when your name comes up and you're not in the room to hear it. This is where a lot of men get blindsided. A woman can be affectionate in private and still quietly diminish you in public. She might avoid mentioning you, downplay what you do, shrug when someone asks about you, or worse, justify being with you, as if she needs to explain her choice. That's not shyness. That's hesitation. When a woman respects a man, she doesn't hide him. She doesn't minimize him. She doesn't detach her identity from his presence. Her tone changes when she talks about you. There's weight behind it. She quotes you. She defends you. She references your perspective even when you're not there. And here's why this matters psychologically. Women are deeply aware of social positioning. Attaching themselves to a man, publicly, is a statement. It signals value, direction, and status. So they're selective. They don't put their name next to someone who lowers their perceived position. When she speaks about you with pride, it means she sees you as an extension of her standards. You're not just the man she sleeps with. You're the man she measures other men against. Now flip that. If she avoids talking about you, if she keeps your relationship vague, if she downplays your role in her life, that's not privacy. That's distance. It means, on some level, she hasn't fully aligned herself with you. And alignment is impossible without respect. This is why men who lack respect feel invisible outside the relationship. They exist in a private bubble, but not in her broader world. She keeps options open. She keeps narratives flexible. A woman who respects you doesn't do that. She stands on the choice she made. Here's the line men need to stop ignoring. If she hides you, she doesn't respect you. Respect makes a woman proud to be associated with you, not because of what you provide, but because of who you are. Number 5. She seeks your input before making major decisions. There's a quiet but decisive shift that happens when a woman truly respects a man. She stops acting first and starts checking in. Attraction makes her want your attention. Respect makes her want your direction. When a woman sees you as a man with sound judgment, she naturally brings you into her decision-making process. Not because she needs permission, but because your perspective carries authority in her mind. She asks what you think before reacting emotionally. She pauses before committing to something big. She wants to know how you see the situation. That's not dependence. That's recognition. This is where many men get confused and accidentally talk themselves out of their position. They say things like, "Just do whatever makes you happy," thinking it sounds supportive. What it actually does is remove their role from the equation. A woman doesn't seek input from a man she sees as optional. When she respects you, your opinion becomes a stabilizer. It grounds her. She feels safer making decisions when she's aligned with your judgment. That's influence, not control. Now look at the opposite pattern. She makes major moves without mentioning them. She informs you after the fact. She treats your reaction as an inconvenience instead of a consideration. That dynamic tells you everything. You're not part of her internal compass. You're just someone who needs to be notified. And that's a dangerous downgrade. Men often tolerate this because they don't want to seem insecure or controlling. But leadership isn't about force. It's about being included before the decision is made. A woman who respects you doesn't fear your perspective. She values it. She knows you see angles she might miss when emotions run high. And here's the distinction every man needs to understand. Being included is respect. being informed is not. If she only tells you after everything is already set in motion, your role has already been reduced. Respect invites your voice into the process, not as a courtesy, but as a necessity. Number 6, she stops the drama and starts bringing you peace. Drama is not random. It's not just how women are. And it's definitely not a sign of passion. Drama is a power test. When a woman doesn't respect a man, she creates emotional friction to see how grounded he really is. She pulls away to provoke a reaction. She starts arguments over nothing. She stirs tension just to feel the upper hand, not maliciously, instinctively. Chaos gives her control when stability doesn't. But when a woman meets a man she genuinely respects, something fundamental changes. She calms down. Not because she's bored, not because she's losing interest, but because her nervous system no longer feels the need to challenge him. A man who is internally solid doesn't react emotionally to tests. He doesn't chase. He doesn't over-explain. He doesn't fight for dominance. And because he can't be shaken, there's nothing to gain from creating turbulence. That's when peace appears. She stops manufacturing problems. She stops pushing buttons. She stops trying to win. Instead, she starts contributing. She becomes softer, not weaker. Cooperative, not submissive. She brings stability into your life because she senses that you are already stable without her. This is the moment many men misread. They think, she's less dramatic. Maybe she's losing interest. No, she's losing the need to test. A woman only fights for control when she doesn't trust the man next to her to hold it. Once she respects you, she relaxes into alignment. She doesn't want to compete with you. She wants to complement you. And that's the key distinction. She no longer wants to challenge you. She wants to support you. Here's the truth most men never connect. Peace is not what a woman gives the man she's comfortable with. Peace is what she gives the man she can't shake. If your presence quiets her chaos instead of feeding it, respect has already taken root. And when a woman brings you peace, it's because she stopped trying to take power from you and started trusting you with it. What these 6 behaviors have in common isn't technique. They're not tricks you perform. They're not things you demand. They're responses. Each one is a reaction to the same underlying reality, position. When a woman truly respects a man, she naturally aligns with him. She listens because his words matter. She watches her tone because his position is solid. She adjusts without attitude because his standards feel legitimate. She speaks about him with pride because being connected to him elevates her. She seeks his input because his judgment is trusted. She brings peace because there's no need to fight for control. None of this comes from asking for it. All of it comes from who you are being. That's the part most men try to skip. They want the behaviors without the foundation, the obedience without the authority, the alignment without the leadership. And when they don't get it, they assume something is wrong with women. It isn't. Women don't withhold respect to punish men. They respond to what they perceive. And perception is shaped by consistency, boundaries, self-command, and direction, not by overgiving or emotional labor. When respect is present, power struggles disappear. She stops negotiating the hierarchy. She stops testing limits. She settles into alignment because it feels right, not because she's forced. Here's the shift every man has to make. You don't ask for respect. You don't negotiate for it. You become the kind of man it attaches itself to. These 6 behaviors aren't goals. They're evidence. And if they're missing, the answer isn't to chase harder. It's to look honestly at the position you're holding. If there's one truth you need to walk away with, it's this. Women don't treat good men badly. They just don't follow men they don't respect. Most men never get clarity on that distinction. They assume effort equals authority. That loyalty should automatically earn leadership. And when it doesn't, they internalize the wrong lesson. They try harder, give more, explain themselves deeper. That's how men slowly erase their own position. If you didn't recognize yourself in those 6 behaviors, don't panic and don't blame her. A woman doesn't wake up one day deciding to downgrade a man. She responds to the role he's been holding all along. Respect doesn't come from chasing approval. It doesn't come from emotional availability without backbone. And it never comes from bargaining your standards away just to keep the peace. A man who is respected doesn't beg to be heard. He isn't afraid to be disagreed with, and he doesn't confuse being chosen with being followed. When you stop overgiving, stop explaining, stop reacting, something shifts. Not because you're trying to control her, but because you're finally controlling yourself. That's when respect has room to grow. So if this hit close to home, don't numb it. Use it. Subscribe if you're done being the man women get comfortable lowering. Comment if you've ever realized, too late, that your position slipped quietly. And share this with a man who's still being chosen, but never truly followed. Because the moment a woman truly respects you, she can't unsee it. And neither can you.